Okay, let's go ahead and call tonight's BPAC meeting to order. Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair, or Mayor-elect. No, just joking. Member Angela Bird-Gray, excused. Member Beatrice Farrell. Here. Member Judith Gabriel.
Here.
Member Tony Gerlix.
Here.
Member Mark McConnell.
Present.
Member Steve Pilcher.
Here.
Member Ben Pingili. No, he said he's coming. Member Gary Shipmiller.
Here.
Member Helen Wang. Here. Chair Michael Garcia.
Present.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up is approval of tonight's agenda. Is there any changes from staff?
None, Mr. Chair, but Member Judith Gabriel will give her subcommittee reports under matters from committee, if that is all right with you.
That is fine. We just got to make sure it's report out, not back and forth discussions. Any changes from staff? I mean, members?
I'd just like to jump in and on behalf of the rest of the committee, congratulate you on your election. See how much we appreciated working with you through the years and look forward to continuing to work with you in your much more powerful position.
Well, well, thank you. I truly appreciate that. Any changes from the agenda from the committee members? Hearing or seeing none, what's the will of the committee?
I move that we approve the agenda.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Farrell. Member Gabriel.
Yes.
Member Gerlix.
Yes.
Member McConnell.
Yes.
Member Pilcher.
Yes.
Member Schiffmiller.
Yes.
Member Wang.
Yes.
Chair Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Next up is approval of the minutes. And these are our September 11th, 2025 BPAC minutes. Any changes from staff?
None, Mr. Chair.
Any changes from members? Sure, Member Gabriel.
I don't know if this is important or not, but under the Zoom participant, it was Irina Osola who was speaking. I don't know if that's important for the record or not, but it just said Zoom participant.
Zoom participant.
Yeah, something like that.
And can we spell that for Romella? That way she can
Yeah.
make.
What page number?
It was under the comments about the bike crash of Steve Ballinger. Yes, and it was the last item.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
That's on a page, the top of page 3, public on Zoom.
Irene also.
Thank you.
Okay, any other changes to the minutes? Seeing none, what's the will of the committee?
I move that we accept the minutes as amended.
Okay, we got a motion to approve as amended. We have a second.
Second.
Got a second by Member Schiffmiller. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Gloriosa Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Farrell. Member Gabriel.
Yes.
Member Gerlix.
I will abstain since I was not there.
Member McConnell.
Yes.
Member Pilcher.
Yes.
Member Schiffmiller.
Yes.
Member Wang.
Also abstain, was not there.
Chair Garcia.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you so much. Next up is item number 5, communications from the public. Any members of the public that would like to address us tonight? Okay, feel free to step on up and address the body. Just make sure the green light is on. Okay, if the little green light is on, just get maybe a little closer so the folks on Zoom land can hear you. Great, thank you. And just for the record, can we have you state your name? I know we all know each other, but folks that might be watching the recording after won't. Okay, thank you, Irene. Appreciate the comments. Any other members of the public? I don't see anybody in the waiting room online. So with that, let's go ahead and close communications from the public. We'll go to move on to item 6A, communications from other agencies. First up, Bike Santa Fe.
We'll have, thank you. Hopefully we'll have about 50, 60 people like we did last year. Right now we're leaning towards maybe Boxcar on the 24th of January. We are organizing, we're looking at possibly organizing a bike summit where we can bring together people within the biking community so we have a common voice. As kind of the new person on the block, I've noticed that there's a lot of different organizations and entities out there, but they don't seem to come together. And I was informed that, like a lot of things, they were in place pre-COVID. And then COVID came along, killed a lot of things that were in place. And so my hopes are we're going to look into the idea of maybe trying to do a Bike Santa Fe Summit where we can bring together many different biking organizations in this area so that when issues come up and we need a stronger voice or we need a common voice, we can do that. We are looking into doing the annual bike swap into February, beginning of March, planning for our bike valet for 2026 and supporting other community events, community rides, the Pride Month parade, bike rodeos at school, things like that. We're also looking at putting on the smart cycling classes and youth safety classes at the elementaries and schools. One of the things I noticed, I got sent this last week that I thought was real interesting was some of you may have seen there was an article in the Albuquerque paper that Albuquerque City Council unanimously approved the first changes made to the city traffic code in more than 50 years. And what they approved unanimously on Wednesday night was changes to better protect vulnerable road users, basically anyone who's not a car, but outlining when drivers have to stop for them and the rules of vulnerable road users. This came on the heels of a 19-year-old girl who was killed riding across, I think it's Carlisle, on the bike trail and got hit. And so they unanimously passed this for her. Albuquerque has approximately 28 pedestrian deaths and 5 bicycle deaths so far in 2025. What they did was they updated the code outlining when drivers have to stop for VRUs, and what rules VRUs have to follow. It establishes what hawk, is everybody familiar with what a hawk signal is? That's where the pedestrian can push it and it tells everybody to stop. Signals are. So the first one they're putting in place is where this girl was killed, but they have also agreed to putting 95 more hawk signals in Albuquerque area. So this is just one example of the community coming together, doing something for safety that hopefully will not only prevent injury and death, but make it a lot safer to ride in Albuquerque. And hopefully down the road that we can look at more things like this in Santa Fe to make it a safer place to ride, walk, or not be in a car. Our next board meeting will be on December 2nd at 6:30, and it's open for anybody who wants to come. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, David, for the update. See a hand come up here, Member Gabriel, and then Member Pilcher.
Excuse me? We have it at the Commons, which is on Alameda at 6:30.
Okay, David, we got questions up here, so. Member Gabriel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The bike swap, it sounds like it's a lot earlier this year. Is it going to be inside somewhere?
Nothing is secured yet. No, I think it's out in the parking lot outside the co-op where it usually
okay.
is. So hopefully it'll be more March than it will be February. But no date has been set yet. Are you recommending that there be a later date?
No, I just am making a note that it is earlier than usual and was wondering, I mean, that can, it could be gorgeous. It could be terrible.
Well, I'll follow up on our next board meeting and see if we can secure a date and also suggest that we may want to have a little bit later date, like March, April, as a time, because the weather is a big deal. And it is outdoors.
Thank you.
Member Pilcher.
Just a quick question, David. That Albuquerque ordinance, is that last night it was adopted or a week ago Wednesday?
It was a week ago.
Thank you.
And I can pull up the link for you if anybody is interested in it. I've actually got the article here if anybody wants it. Wants a copy of it.
What we can do is maybe if you're willing to leave the copy behind, can we leave it with Ms. Glorioso Mas? Maybe you can scan it, send it to the committee for us. Thank you, David, for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, next up is Santa Fe MPO. Leah, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I don't actually have a whole lot of progress to report to you or updates, but I will say that I'm not really also progress, but I'm still waiting to get the galvanized bike rack quote that I heard from Make Santa Fe today or this week that he would be trying to get secure a vendor for that because he usually works with some other type of steel or aluminum or I don't another metal. I don't know them all. And so hopefully I'll have that quote. And then I don't know if we're running into timing, but I'll definitely connect with you when I get that final quote. Otherwise, we are still working on the street design guide, manual, and code update. But no, we don't have any dates or anything for that yet. So I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay, any questions from the committee for Leah? Don't see any. Oh, thank you for the update. Next up is Public Safety Advisory Committee, Member Pilcher.
Thank you. We did meet last month and had an interesting presentation by Councilor Faulkner, who's teamed with two other councilors regarding a public safety package. So I'm not quite sure where it's all going. It's rather expansive, included from code enforcement, kind of hot spot, focused efforts on policing, and real emphasis on aggressive driving. I think it's still a concept my understanding is still a concept being developed by Councilors Faulkner, Chavez, and Garcia. Garcia, not the one sitting next to me. We'll be meeting again in a few weeks, and we will finally, at the beginning of December, on the 2nd, start to review amending our resolution, providing greater clarity what that committee is supposed to be doing. So that'll be good. Finally found a date everyone could.
Thank you, Member Pilcher. Any questions for Member Pilcher? Seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to the next item, 7A, raffle draw for $100 gift card winner. Spooky Streets and Safe Streets for All BPAC 2025 Halloween survey. Mr. Moore, Mr. Moore here. But
Chair Garcia.
Sure, absolutely. And maybe just to give some context, Romella, can we explain to the public how we got the entries that we're drawing from and how many total folks filled out the survey?
So at the last Halloween event at the Genoveva Chavez Center, BPAC had a table. And we also had our, what is the title? It's spooky. We had a survey called Spooky Streets and Safe Streets for All. It's the BPAC 2025 survey for school-age children who went to the GCC for the Halloween event, Trick or Trick. And so with a subcommittee member of PEC, Chandler Moore, and the chair, and one of my staff, we did a survey for 3 hours and we had 288 survey respondents. And so GM Emulsion also donated $100 gift card from Running Hub. And that's what we are drawing today, the winner.
Thank you, Romella.
And the winner is Felicia. Maybe Ryan. The number's on.
Congratulations, Felicia. Let's go to move on to item 7B, which is appointments. We're going to, or I will be appointing Beatrice Farrell to the Policy Planning and Law Subcommittee, be appointing Irina Osla to the Ad Hoc Committee on Developing a fact-based white paper, outlining policy recommendations for enhancing motorist accountability in collisions involving cyclists, and then appointing Mark McConnell to the Technical Review Subcommittee. Item C, continued discussion on motorist accountability in collisions involving cyclists. This item is being brought forward by Member Schiffmiller. So Member Schiffmiller, I'll yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Counselor. Chair Garcia, Mayor-elect Garcia. Last month, we started this discussion or continued the discussion. We had a member of the Santa Fe Police Department here. And among the things he said, when I pointed out to him that the reckless driving statute, paragraph B says, a person operating a motor vehicle shall not endanger a bicyclist. His response was, well, and maybe I'm paraphrasing, I may not be directly quoting him, but his response was, I would read that as a person operating a motor vehicle shall not intentionally endanger a bicyclist. I pointed out that the word intentionally was not in there. And I didn't pursue it that much, but I've thought about this a lot. And I want to say that his response, I see that as arbitrarily raising the bar on being able to hold motorists accountable for reckless driving by adding a word that's not in there. It makes it much more difficult to charge that motorist. And I think this is an example of implicit bias. This is exactly what we've been struggling against. This is what we are saying exists in our community and in our country, that there is an institutional and implicit bias against vulnerable road users, particularly bicyclists and pedestrians. And I know implicit bias, it's gotten a lot of attention, and it's usually associated with racial bias, often on the part of police. But implicit bias is not necessarily racial. The American Psychological Association defines implicit bias as a negative attitude of which one is not consciously aware against a specific social group. Well, it's my contention that bicyclists are an identifiable social group. And I'm not sure that Lieutenant, was it Ramirez? I think it was Ramirez. I'm not sure he's even aware of his own bias, which is by definition what implicit bias is. And
Chiefs, big ass football game.
you know, we live in a very car-centric society. And I think bias towards bicyclists may be the most entrenched prejudice in our society here in the land of entrenchment. It may be the most entrenched prejudice of all because I think it transcends race, class, sex, political persuasion, age, education level, anything you could think of. I think it's the most ubiquitous prejudice there is. According to the AAA, American Automobile Association Foundation, in 2023, 95.3% of people in the US age 16 and up report that they drive a car. 95.3, that's virtually everybody. Everybody drives a car, including every cop, including every DA, including every judge. Very few of them are frequent bicyclists. And I think a lot of them hold this implicit bias against bicyclists. I was involved in a discussion online on Nextdoor just recently, and it was about the Idaho stop law. And someone said something about these entitled bicyclists think they own the road. And my response was, you mean like the entitled drivers who think they own the road? I said, the fact is, everybody owns the road and everybody is entitled to the road. A lot of drivers think we have no place on the road. And this is part of that implicit bias. No, I would also say, and this might sound a little accusatory, but every district attorney is an elected official. And they know that all of their constituents are drivers. And it seems to me that drivers do not want to be held accountable when they make a mistake and injure or kill a bicyclist or a pedestrian. Drivers expect bicyclists to accept 100% of the risk of being on the road. And it's unfair and it cannot stand. And that's what we have to struggle against. You know, even though I think it's ethically and legally the right thing to do to hold drivers accountable, I actually don't think it's going to have a huge effect on road safety because most drivers in the moment are not thinking about the consequences of their actions. They see that light turn yellow and they punch it and they don't even think about it. I really do think the only way to improve safety on roads, or not the only way, but the most effective way, is re-engineering our roads to make drivers drive slower. And that's really the avenue I think we should be pursuing most vigorously. But I do think we also need to pursue driver accountability simply because it is the right thing legally and ethically to do. I just wanted to talk a little bit about implicit bias because it's a phrase that wasn't used last time and I wish I had used it. And I'm gonna start using it even more. Bicyclists are treated as if their lives don't matter. And the lives of bicyclists matter just as much as anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Schiffmiller. Any other comments from the committee? Member Pilcher.
You might find interesting a book I read during the last month called Life After Cars. And I haven't started listening to podcasts, but I guess these two people do a podcast called The War on Cars. But it echoes a lot of the things you just brought up. Schiffmiller's, the attitude towards vehicles, and it gets in the whole very deep dive about all the negative impacts of cars, be it from pollution to dangers they pose on the roadway. I would argue too, besides engineering streets, that something else which probably wouldn't be popular here. I wouldn't imagine, but it's just lowering the speed limits. I mean, just because the street is long and straight, and I use Airport Road a lot because that's the part of town I live on. Doesn't mean you have to have a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit, which makes for a very unfriendly environment for a bicyclist. And I know I gave up riding along Airport Road a couple of years ago, and might consider it again once they repave it, have a smoother surface, and hopefully through these repaving projects, BPAC can have some input in terms of striping, whether we can actually eke out a few more feet for bike lanes. That I think would also help.
Thanks for that recommendation. I would say that I'm not opposed to lowering speed limits, but I think most people drive at whatever speed they're comfortable, regardless of the posted speed limit, which is why engineering roads in such a way that forces people to drive slower, I believe would be more effective. And I have a recommendation for a book that you might be interested in reading. It's called Killed by a Traffic Engineer. And it's an intentionally provocative title, but it's a very, very interesting book. And it talks about how a lot of the assumptions that traffic engineers use are not based in science. A lot of it is just the sort of, gee, we've always done it that way kind of thing.
Member McConnell.
I think part of what you're bringing up requires like a consciousness paradigm shift for people. And that is a really difficult thing to tackle. I think it's a worthy cause. I'm not sure how to go about it. The second comment would be from my life experience in cycling in the US and other countries, the more we can create cycle separated, whether it's on the road, whether it's just a 6-inch curb that separates the bike lane physically, not just a white line, and then cycle separated, all the infrastructure and the trails and the pathways, and promoting for cyclists that, hey, maybe it's a mile longer. This is your safest. These are just some of my thoughts. I've seen cycle separated. I just don't know that cars and cyclists are compatible. I know there's a lot of things we can do, but it's a lot of money, and that's another source problem. Where's the financial resource? Because it's, to your point of 95% are drivers, and I don't know what the percentage is that are cyclists. So getting people to allocate, advocate, vote, spend their money and say, yes, that makes my community better. That's a difficult hurdle in this country. Okay, that's all I got. I'll have to think about your comments more, see if I can't come up with some ideas rather than just what I just said.
Thank you, Member McConnell. Member.
Gary, thank you for those comments. Don't disagree with any of them. It's clear that the United States is a car culture. Santa Fe is a car city, just like every city in the United States. And I think the challenge of changing the culture is by providing the infrastructure for bicyclists and pedestrians to be safe. Once that infrastructure is in place, that culture begins to change. And we can only look to cities in Europe, other cities in the United States that have instituted terrific bicycle infrastructure, and we see a commensurate change in bicycle culture. That's what I really think needs to happen, is that sort of bicycle infrastructure. Thanks for your comments.
Member Gerlitz. Anybody else? Member Gabriel.
Thank you, Gary, for that and for the other comments too. And it's a little discouraging thinking about changing the culture, the infrastructure, given what Bromella sent us out was a little blurb about transportation dollars not being prioritizing pedestrian and bicycling safety. And I'm not sure where it came from, but it was very discouraging. So I think that requires our leadership in the city of Santa Fe to step up. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Gabriel. Anybody else? I definitely will echo a lot of your sentiments, but the only addition I have is, and I know my time on the committee will be coming to an end, but I would highly encourage the committee to also look at the avenue of education and really beginning to look at breaking that culture cycle with our young folks and having mandatory trainings as part of getting your driver's license. I think that is an absolute minimum. I think you look at it from, I don't want to minimize it by any means by saying low hanging fruit, but to develop the infrastructure to accommodate cycling is going to be a tens, if not hundreds of $1 million endeavor. Whereas lobbying our state legislature to incorporate some type of class or test that a person must pass in order to get a driver's license, that would not only focus on cyclists and pedestrians, but also our motorcyclists as well. And we begin to train our drivers that they're not the only ones on the road. And it's their responsibility to be aware of their surroundings. And that is one thing maybe I would encourage this committee to investigate what can be done on the state level in regards to that, because it's a tandem of all of the above. And we need to look at how we can begin to at least set in motion a path of the accountability on the driver's end, right? With the driver's license, you set in motion the accountability with the law enforcement. And then you also set in motion the protection measures with the infrastructure. I think if that's one thing I can leave y'all with over however long y'all are part of this committee, but it's a big lift, but always happy to participate in any way, shape, or form, because one thing that we as a governing body do is, and we're actually going through the process right now where we are establishing what we call our legislative priorities. And so half of it is focusing on kind of the monetary aspect. We've got district priority capital projects, overall city priority capital projects. But then we have probably, and I'd have to look at it, 5 to 6 pages of just overarching policy priorities. And this could be a policy priority of advocating to change the requirements for individuals to get driver's licenses to include some type of, and I would look at it as a certification. They've got to pass some type of test that acknowledges that they are going to become a driver and they're not the only person on the road. There's going to be others on the road, whether it's a cyclist, pedestrian, motorcyclist, there's going to be others on the road, and how to ensure that they're being as diligent and responsible as possible. That's my 2 cents on the matter. Member McConnell.
One final thought. I saw this article somewhere where training of bus drivers, they put a bus driver on a bicycle next to another driver going by as a way to let them feel what that might be like. So I don't know if that could be in the driving thing, so that even if you're not a cyclist, you have to sit on one and someone has to drive by you. I don't know. Sounds kind of out there, but certainly would put the message of what it feels like to be passed. Okay, that's it.
Member Pilcher.
Just a quick thought, when you brought up motorcyclists, it reminded me I'm not sure what time of year it is, but it seems like there's Motorcycle Awareness Week or month or something. You'll see signs up along the freeways, and something similar to that could be done for bicyclists, not on I-25, obviously, but we had like portable signs we could put up at different places in town, just have like a bicycle awareness week or however long. That'd be a way to keep reaching people who don't have to get their driver's license.
Other comments? Any more? Is there any action the committee would like to take, or was just discussion within the committee? It was your item, Member Schiffmiller, so don't.
Didn't really have an action item. I just wanted to voice these things that I'd thought about since the last meeting.
Thank you for bringing the agenda item forward. Let's go to move on to item D, which is discussion and establishment of scope. And the official name for BPAC's ad hoc committee on motorist accountability in collisions involving cyclists. This is my item, and this is just to ensure that the ad hoc committee kind of has their specific task that they're going to be working on. I don't really think we need to change the name too much. If folks want to change it to something more flashy, happy to do so, but yes.
I think it's less about the flashiness and more about, I think setting out in this analysis, it's important to me to not just like assume that, like, I think right now, if I like operated off my personal bias, I would say that motorist on motorist incidents like that, we pursue that more aggressively than motorist on pedestrian or motorist on like cyclists. But I think I'd rather not introduce bias in the title or the name of this ad hoc committee. Like, I think I don't have like I can noodle on like a concrete proposal there, but I think just something more like, I think because the analysis itself should first focus on, is there bias? And like, again, if I had a hypothesis, like I personally would think there is one, but I want to run like a real statistical analysis on that and not just assume that we're getting together and like the end result is definitely like,
Right.
you think motorists are at fault and we're going to make these recommendations. Like I want it to be very fair. So that's my one concern about it. And I think Gary has a valid point around the length of the, but, or, we come up with a catchy acronym or something.
Okay. Well, I'm open to whatever the committee wants to brand it as. Sure, Member Gabriel.
I don't have any suggestions for changing it, but Romelda and I were talking before the meeting, and perhaps it should not just be cyclists, but pedestrians as well. Helen, you sort of
Yeah,
alluded to that, yeah. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Member Pilcher.
I like the term vulnerable road users. I think that's what I understood they did in Albuquerque. And I think that's Vision Zero. Is that correct, Ramella? So it has some tie into existing policies.
So, Member Pilcher, are you proposing to maybe remove cyclists and replace it with vulnerable road users, or?
That would work. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it ad hoc committee on motorist accountability and vulnerable road users? VRUs include children, 8 years old and below. Seniors are vulnerable road users, and those who have ADA or deaf or blind, those are vulnerable road users as well. So it's not only cyclists and pedestrians, but children, old people or older adults, and those with physical disabilities.
Does that include all pedestrians then, or
Yes, in VRUs.
why do they? I guess when I hear certain groups singled out, it makes me think that like
No.
otherwise active adults, you're on your own. So we're talking, it is all pedestrians, no matter what their age is. Or anything.
Yeah.
How old does one have to be before you're considered a elderly pedestrian.
Older adults. It's
I'm just wondering,
65
I'm wondering if I'm one of those.
and above is the older adults.
Yes, I'm one of those.
Yeah. OAA, isn't it? Chair Garcia, 65 and above or 60 and above?
Depends on the entity. Sometimes it's 55.
Oh.
Like AARP is 50.
There's someone who said that if they want money from you, you're a senior when you're 50 and above, and if you want money from them, you have to be 75 and
So now we're tossing around ideas. Member Gerlitz, sorry.
No, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Member Wang, for taking this on. I think it's a very valuable exercise. I concur with Steve and Rumella's comments on vulnerable road users. Remember that BPAC also stands for bicycles and pedestrians, as anyone that's using those roads should be included. And in reading the minutes from September, I noticed that the last portion of the goals of the committee was to set forth some action items. And I really wanted to reinforce that concept. A white paper is great, but it really doesn't mean much unless there's some actionable items to be taken at the end. So thank you for taking this on.
Thank you, Member Gerlitz. So do we just want to first try to nail down a title of the group and then we can drill down on the scope?
So page 2 of my memo, there are scope considerations.
Okay.
So I guess number 1 is we are going to do the vulnerable road users. And then number 2, I think that's what Member Gerlitz is asking about. Is it just a white paper or some actionable items like, are you going to recommend some actionable strategies or guidance for legislation? I just don't want this ad hoc committee to be, there is no direction, there is no scope of work. What is the time limit? Is it going to take like 2 years or 1 year? It needs to be constrained. Otherwise, it will just become so big.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Member Gabriel.
since we have two committee members in the audience, I wonder if we could go through these bullet points about the scope considerations. Unless you have it in front of you, which I don't think you do. You do, Cal? Would you like us to go through them?
And so while they're kind of reviewing it, let's maybe try to firm up the name. Are folks okay with the name? Ad hoc Committee on Motorist Accountability and Vulnerable Road Users.
Yes.
I have a question,
Sure.
Mr. Chair. Leaving out the word collisions, I'm just wondering if that has too big of an impact or if that relates back to the bias question. So putting that out there.
Great question. Better folks feel.
I'm fine with collisions. I guess I think once again, motorist accountability, like I think that's where we might end up, but I don't, like, I have personal reluctance around naming the committee that, because I think for anyone, like, for instance, if we came out with policy recommendations, I would really hate for someone to say, well, your entire committee was called motorist accountability. So like, that was just the bent you had the whole time, when it's not.
To help with that, if we remove the word motorist and just said accountability with vulnerable road users. because we're ultimately, I think the intention of the exercise is to ensure that there is accountability in
Mhm.
some sense. We're trying to determine who's being held accountable and for what, so to speak, right? Is it a collision? Is it other actions?
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
are you suggesting ad hoc committee on accountability and vulnerable road users?
Yeah, just accountability and VRU, well, vulnerable
Yeah.
road users.
Um,
I think it's more so the conversation spurred around accountability, not necessarily the protection, right? Because we started this conversation due to the another unfortunate cyclist accident and the lack of accountability and the lack of, well, the lack of the sense of accountability from our members of our community. And I think that's a whole encompassing, because I think protection can fall into accountability. And was it due to lack of protection for the cyclists, or was it other actions that caused some reaction, so to speak? Member Gabriel.
I like the idea of taking the motorist term out, but we are talking about collisions, right? So the term collision seems important to me. Accountability and collisions involving vulnerable road users seems much more clear to me than accountability involving vulnerable road users. It's like, what do you mean by that? So that seems important to at least narrow the scope or identify the scope, unless we are talking about something beyond collisions. And if we are, what would that be?
Gotcha. And so, Member Gabriel, what I think I heard you said was accountability and collisions involving vulnerable road users.
Yes.
Okay. What are folks' thoughts? Member Wang, and then we'll get.
I think just one more thought after a quick Google of vulnerable road users is I think pedestrians, yes, cyclists, yes. It also includes motorcyclists technically. I think it would be maybe too ambitious. I should actually consult with the rest of the people on the committee, but I'd be fine with including motorcyclists as well, because I think they could be a good ally in this cause. But that's not originally where my mind was, because we're PAC.
Understandable. Member McConnell.
Yeah, I like what you came up with. I think it's a
Yeah.
good, it encompasses the thing. And I think that in my experience of cycling out there, most two-wheeled things are friendly to other two-wheeled things, whether it has a motor or not.
Okay. So sounds like we somewhat firmed up a title. We can either make a motion to approve that now, or wait until we define a scope and see if that might change or shift the title. That way we don't have to remake a motion, but what are folks will? We want to go over the scope and then maybe make 2 follow-up motions, or it can even be 1 motion. Okay. So do folks have the memo in front of them with some of the recommended discussion points? Not discussion points, the scope consideration, sorry. Yes, Member Gabriel.
I like this list of scope considerations, and it does have actionable strategies in the last bullet. And I'm wondering if we could let the ad hoc committee add to this or change this list if they decide they need to do that, and also just put their stamp of approval on the final name of the committee. We've talked about what we would like included in the name, but some discussions might lead to some other ideas. That's my proposal.
Okay. Any other discussion? Is what's being proposed here is we as a committee don't establish the timeline right now. We give that autonomy back to the committee based on their work and potential workload and be able to review that. That's okay with everybody?
Maybe a goal can be for the committee to meet before our next BPAC meeting and then come with like a proposal that covers all these scope considerations,
Sure.
or depending on people's availability next meeting, because I know there's holidays coming.
Right. Other thoughts? So do folks want to? Sure, come on up. Subcommittee members, if y'all got any feedback, just come on, step up to the podium. That way the folks on Zoom can hear you.
Cal Spencer, ad hoc member. I like this list, and I like leaving out motorist accountability, because going back to Member Schiffmiller's comments, this is much wider than motorist accountability. It's traffic engineer accountability. It's educational accountability. But by leaving out, focusing on motorists, we really are looking at the bigger vision, zero picture, and how education and road design and all that good stuff really rolls into this, both for pedestrians, bicyclists, and any other quote unquote vulnerable user. I'm also a motorcyclist, by the way. So my other question is, in terms of a timeline, are we going to be making monthly reports or quarterly reports, or what's our relationship going to be with the committee at large? Presumably we'll have to approve anything that we go off in our wild fancy with.
I think we're trying to figure that out now. Subcommittee member Spencer,
Yeah, but,
or ad hoc committee member Spencer.
but the scope considerations are, I think, wide enough for us to have quite a bit of latitude in how we go forward. I would hate to see us constrained and going in any specific direction, because this is a multidimensional problem.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So am I understanding, am I hearing correctly that we'd like to push forward some of these recommendations to the committee? The ad hoc committee comes back maybe with recommendation to the governing body. And then next meeting, we kind of firm up the details, and then the actual kind of ad hoc committee work begins with the kind of scope that has been finalized with kind of the criteria of not only the work, but the timelines, reporting schedule, et cetera. Okay. So would somebody like to make a motion kind of on that? I'm happy to kind of do so if need firming up the language. Somebody want to take a whiff at it, so to speak?
Try, but is it like I move for the ad hoc committee to come to the next meeting with a proposal of scope, committee name, et
That's
cetera. Yeah. By the next
no et
meeting.
cetera needed.
Okay,
But
great,
yeah.
great.
So we've got a motion to request that the ad hoc committee bring forward a scope to BPAC as well as the committee name. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, is there discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Farrell,
Yes.
Member Gabriel,
Yes.
Member Gerlix,
Yes.
Member McConnell,
Yes.
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Schiffmiller,
Yes.
Member Wang,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for that discussion. Next up is approval of the 2026 BPAC meeting schedule. As outlined in the memo, it's proposed that BPAC meet on January 8th, February 12th, March 12th, April 9th, May 14th, June 11th, June 9th, August 13th, September 10th, October 8th, and November 12th, as well as a final meeting in December 10th. Any discussion from committee members on that? And if none, what's the will of the committee?
Move to approve the schedule.
Okay, we've got a motion.
Second,
We've got a motion in multiple seconds. Any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Ms. Glorioso Mas, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Member Farrell,
Yes.
Member Gabriel.
Yes.
Member Gerlix,
yes.
Member McConnell,
Yes.
Member Pilcher,
Yes.
Member Schiff Miller,
Yes.
Member Wang,
Yes.
Chair Garcia,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. Next up is Subcommittee Communications, Policy, Planning and Law, Member Pilcher.
I think, well, if the rest of the committee is, the BPAC is ready, we could bring forth our recommended amendments to the strategic plan at the next meeting. That be okay? I just, I want to make sure I get those, what we've worked on so far to do. But that'll work for everybody. We can bring those forward. But sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, any other updates, Member Pilcher? None? Okay. Technical review, Member Schiff Miller.
Thank you, Chair Garcia. I've been to several meetings as a member of this subcommittee. Ongoing meetings about the Henry Lynch Road reconstruction. What I have to report is that the engineers are looking at drainage issues, and that might have to substantially change some of the things we agreed to. Primarily, they might have to get rid of some of the landscaping to narrow the corridor to allow for drainage ditches. I did clarify that this should not affect the connection between the river trail and the Acequia Trail because their drainage considerations are from Rafina Street, 1,000 feet north, which is south of the connection to the Acequia Trail. So it shouldn't affect what we already agreed to in terms of that. And I also wanted to point out, I've mentioned this in the past, but since a couple of people have mentioned separated bike lanes, this is going to be, if the design holds, this is going to be the first separated bike lanes in Santa Fe. They're going to be grade separated. And I'm really, really excited about that. And I think it's a great precedent to be set. And I'm very pleased with the way it's going. The other meetings I've been to are for the Acequia Trail extension. This is for the Acequia Trail from Rafina to San Felipe Road. And the most prominent issues there are drainage issues. So I haven't had a whole lot to say about it, but I am attending the meetings and, you know, keeping it on my radar screen. And that's all I have really right now.
Thank you, Member Schiff Miller. Next up is matters from staff.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have 4 to report tonight. One is that unfortunately, the Public Works Department Director did not recommend any roadway or trail projects to the governing body for capital outlay funding for district priority. And this is unfortunate because especially since federal funding for trail biking and pedestrian facilities or infrastructure has significantly reduced. In the past, $3 million, $2 million federal funding is a lot easier to get. This year, a total of $1 million for 3 projects. And we applied for $10 million for the underpass project. Usually we get the result in June, July. It's now November and there's still no result from SS4A funding, which is the federal funding. Second one is we entered the Cañada Rincon Trail for the ACEC Awards, which is the American Council of Engineering Companies, under special projects category. I really believe this is the most beautiful urban trail in the city. So we'll see the result at their meeting in, I think, March 2026. Then I just want to remind the committee members for the Arroyo de los Chamisos Urban Trail repair meeting, public meeting to be held on November 18 from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Southside Public Library. There was a question from membership Miller, why is especially the technical review was not involved in the design, because this is maintenance. This is not complete streets. This is the work of parks and open space. The fourth one is, since next month will be Chair Garcia's final meeting leading our committee, Lucrecia and I are planning a small gathering to celebrate our successes. So we'll send out Google poll soon to check your availability. Do we want to do it before the meeting, after the meeting, or a different date? But we will send you a Google poll. That's it from me, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Glorioso Moss. Next up is matters from the committee. We'll just go left to right. Member Gabriel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple things. I wanted to thank Romella, Counselor Garcia, Promotion Education and Communication Member Chandler Moore, and his girlfriend Katie for staffing the BPAC table at the city's Halloween event. 288 surveys is very impressive. I have a copy of the questions here. It was about asking young people about walking and biking to school. I'll just pass it around if anyone's interested in seeing that. And I did want to find out how this would get analyzed if you needed assistance or whatever. We can talk about it offline, but I know it will need to be analyzed and then shared. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and I don't know if there's really no recourse, but the Galisteo Street turnoff from Zia is now open. And it is one of the worst things I have ever seen. It is barely wide. I don't know how any large vehicle is going to make the turn onto that street. There's no room for bicycles. There is a sidewalk for pedestrians, and I don't know if anybody has driven on it, but it's insane. And I'm extremely disappointed in the way it came out. It's right in my neighborhood, and it's just, there's hardly any turning radius. It's crazy. I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Member Wink, nothing from you? Okay. Member Schiffmiller.
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, Member McConnell? None? Okay. Matters
Chair
from the chair.
Garcia.
Oh, sorry. I apologize, Member Gurlitz.
No worries. This is a voice from the far distant universe. I just wanted to extend my congratulations to you and thank you for the good work you've done on this committee. I've been so impressed by your patience, which rivals that of Job and anyone else. Thanks so much for your work and congratulations.
Well, thank you so much, Member Gurlitz. I appreciate the kind words. We'll go ahead and move on to matters from the chair. I have none. Definitely, I appreciate the sentiment of wanting to do a celebration, but please don't hold the celebration just for me. Y'all are the ones who get the work done. I just facilitate the meetings for you. So, yeah, this is all of y'all. So, thank you all. Thank you all. With that, our next meeting will be December. Can't remember. Second Thursday in December. I apologize. Let's see. I'll look at the calendar right now. December 11th. So with that, we are adjourned. Everybody be safe.